Chapter 1391, A Treasure Brought by a Tempest. Tang Xiu expressed grave concern on his face and immediately appeared beside old Sycamore. He fed him a purple scent pill and asked, "Are you all right, old Sycamore?" Old Sycamore smiled wryly and said, "I've reached the supremacy stage too late in life and ended up getting severely injured in the end. The force behind the detonation of a perfected golden immortal's immortal soul really isn't something to look down on." Tang Xiu nodded solemnly and said, "You're right about that. Even supremes can suffer grievous injuries from the detonation of a perfected golden immortal's immortal soul if they are caught off guard. However, we can consider it a glorious victory since we were able to eliminate all the enemies with this battle." Old Sycamore asked, "Master, there's something I'm perplexed about." Tang Xiu smiled faintly and said, "You're wondering about the moment when all of them had suddenly become absent-minded for an instant when we attacked them, right?" Old Sycamore chuckled and said, "Indeed. If it weren't for us taking the upper hand in the beginning, it would have been quite a challenge to eliminate all of them." Tang Xiu smiled faintly and said, "A divine power of mine can confuse the opponent's mind and trap them in an illusion when caught off guard, and that's also the optimal moment to kill them." Old Sycamore suddenly came to a realization, and the others also revealed shocked expressions. Although they had faintly guessed that the reason the enemies had become absent-minded had something to do with Tang Xiu, the shock they felt in their hearts after hearing it directly from his mouth was no lesser. Tang Xiu examined everyone and handed purple scent pills to them. Then, he said in a deep voice, "Eagle, you will accompany me hereafter while the others will recuperate in the heavenly abode. You don't have much time, so you must focus on recovering as soon as possible because we never know what kind of danger we might face later on. You will only be able to face those dangers properly if you have recovered to the peak of your strength." "Understood." Old Sycamore and the others acknowledged before entering the heavenly abode. Tang Xiu looked at Eagle and said, "We also need to look for a place to recuperate. We will leave this place after we have recovered from some of our injuries." Eagle said, "I'm not that familiar with the 7th layer, but I do know a place in the 8th layer that place should be safe for us. However, we won't have an easy time making it to that safe zone." Tang Xiu pondered for a moment and said, "We can't go to the 8th layer, then. The entrance to the 8th layer is still quite far away, and we will need to pass through several danger zones to reach it. It wouldn't be easy for us to rush over there with how severe our injuries are. Let's do this, then. We shall clear up some of the demon beasts in one of the mountains of Blackstone Cliff and create a safe zone there. I'll also reinforce the place with a formation, so we should be able to recuperate there safely." After much difficulty, Tang Xiu and Eagle successfully recovered from their injuries 2 months later and hastened with their journey once again. They encountered one crisis after another and went through several life-threatening situations before finally arriving at the entrance to the 8th layer. After the two of them entered the 8th layer, they were ambushed by enemies, monster beasts, and demon beasts several times during their journey. A spatial crack's turbulence had almost pulled them inside on one occasion too. "Master, the entrance to the 9th layer is 1,000,000 kilometers away. We must..." Before Eagle could finish speaking, his expression turned unsightly as he stared ahead fixedly. He directly grabbed Tang Xiu's arm to stop him after that. Tang Xiu frowned and asked, "What is it?" Eagle said, "Looks like our fortune is quite not good since we have run into the Nifa's tempest." Tang Xiu inquired, "What's this Nifa's tempest?" Eagle explained, "Those who haven't lived in Nifa's abyss for long are unaware of the Nifa's tempest's existence. It's a very terrifying natural calamity of Nifa's abyss, and it's highly likely that even perfected golden immortals will die if they get trapped inside it. It's known as the Tempest of Doom in Nifa's abyss, and everyone avoids it as soon as they see it." Tang Xiu came to a realization, and after a short moment of silence, he said, "Since that's the case, let's just avoid it then." Eagle forced a smile. "It's too late. We can't avoid this Nifa's tempest with our current strength. Unless we break through to the supremacy stage, it will be difficult for us to fully avoid it. However, we can escape the danger range of the Tempest's Eye, so let's leave quickly. Let's ask Old Sycamore to take us away, then. Tang Xiu called Old Sycamore out from the heavenly abode and explained the circumstances to him swiftly. After that, the two of them fled towards the distance quickly along with Old Sycamore. A quarter hour later, a bitter smile rose up on Old Sycamore's face as he stated helplessly, "This Nifa's tempest is too fast. Although I'm a supreme, it's difficult for even me to avoid it completely. We need to prepare to face the winds of the tempest and hope that we can preserve our lives." After a short period, the lingering winds of the Nifa's tempest enveloped the three men. Although the force behind the lingering winds was quite powerful, as Old Sycamore was a supreme, he was able to safeguard Tang Xiu and Eagle adequately. "What's that?" Tang Xiu questioned after his gaze penetrated through the helical windstorm of the tempest and saw a mountain-like shadow within its depths. Eagle explained, according to the legends, although Nifa's tempest is a terrifying calamity, it holds a huge treasure within it. However, even though a lot of supremes tried to obtain it, they found it difficult to obtain the treasure within the tempest's abyss while being able to preserve their lives. Tang Xiu took a deep breath and asked in a deep voice, "Old Sycamore, do you have the courage to venture into the eye of the tempest along with me?" Old Sycamore replied in haste, "I don't. It's really too dangerous inside, only death will await us if we enter it." Tang Xiu took a 9th grade Immortal defensive artifact out from his interspatial ring and handed it over to Old Sycamore. "I have a 9th grade Immortal defensive artifact, and you have one now too. I believe we should give it a try. After all, fortune favors the bold." Old Sycamore saw the determined expression on Tang Xiu's face and forced a smile immediately. "Since you have already decided on it, I shall follow you inside too, then. I hope we can obtain a rare treasure inside the tempest." Tang Xiu nodded and said, "Eagle, enter the heavenly abode." "Understood." Eagle acknowledged and immediately entered the heavenly abode. Whoosh! Whoosh! Two indistinct figures appeared inside the tempest in the next moment. The two resisted the tempest's crazy onslaught desperately, resulting in numerous wounds forming on their bodies. Tang Xiu, however, was in a better state compared to Old Sycamore as he was cultivating the heavenly art of cosmic genesis, a top-grade cultivation art of the demon realm, so his physique was much stronger than of a supremacy stage expert like Old Sycamore. After Tang Xiu realized the identity of the item inside the tempest, his eyes opened as wide as saucers, and even his body shuddered slightly. Old Sycamore was in a similar situation too. He looked at the item with disbelief, his eyes almost popping out of his sockets. "It's a corpse," Old Sycamore said in a trembling voice. As Tang Xiu had gone through the divine tribulation once, he could sense the divine aura around it. The humongous corpse was brimming with divine force. This meant that the corpse belonged to a god, an incredibly powerful true god at that. Old Sycamore's breathing turned rushed as he looked towards Tang Xiu and asked, "What do we do now?" A glimmer flashed through Tang Xiu's voice as he stated solemnly, "I told you before that fortune favors the bold. Since we have entered the tempest and found such a huge treasure, it won't make sense for us to return empty-handed. This corpse should be the corpse of a god, and obtaining it would bring us unimaginable benefits in the future. We shall receive it, then." Old Sycamore also nodded in agreement and sent his immortal force towards the god's corpse and coiled around it. At the moment he was about to pull the corpse towards them, the immortal force he had released ignited all of a sudden, and the fierce flames reached before him in an instant and were just a step away from igniting his body. Damn it! Old Sycamore withdrew his immortal force and retreated thousands of meters as if he had seen a cosmic horror and somehow managed to avoid getting burned by the flames. Tang Xiu's heart palpitated rapidly. Although he had witnessed Old Sycamore almost get burnt by the flames, he still released his primal chaos force and coiled it around the god's corpse to pull it over towards him. As expected, the primal chaos force didn't ignite. After the god's corpse had reached before him, Tang Xiu could clearly see the huge hole that had been gouged in the corpse's chest. This hole had a diameter of 100 meters, and although it looked minute in comparison to the thousands of meters tall body of the god, it was indeed a fatal wound. Tang Xiu could feel that this god's corpse was akin to a raging volcano. Although the god was already dead, the body contained dreadful energy within it that was even more powerful than his strength back when he was a supreme in the immortal world. Come to me. Tang Xiu circulated his heavenly art of cosmic genesis to the limits. The tens of thousands of planets within his body trembled as he pulled that god's corpse near his heavenly abode. In the next instant, he sealed that humongous, 10,000 meters tall corpse within a corner of the heavenly abode and even used the aura of the god's corpse to place down a formation to protect it. Let's leave. An ecstatic expression appeared on old Sycamore's aged face when he saw Tang Xiu receive the corpse successfully. He grabbed onto Tang Xiu with all his strength and rushed out of the tempest along with him. Pfft. Coughing a few mouthfuls of blood, old Sycamore's body stumbled forward. Tang Xiu stepped forward to support him immediately. After concealing themselves under a black rock, he summoned the heavenly abode within a small crack of the black rock and entered it along with old Sycamore. How are your injuries? Tang Xiu asked with deep concern on his face. Old Sycamore shook his head and managed to squeeze out a smile as he replied, I'm fine. Although I did suffer some heavy injuries during our previous battle, I haven't kicked the bucket yet. Let's take a look at that god's corpse quickly. Tang Xiu nodded and examined the sealed god's corpse. He discovered that Eagle, Siwei Monarch, and the others had also rushed over in succession. Heavens! This is a god's corpse? This corpse. Chapter 1392, A Step Away. Tang Xiu looked at their astonished expressions and said in a deep voice, You have guessed it right, it's the corpse of a god. We obtained it from within the Nepha's tempest. Everyone, I can assure you that breaking through to the supremacy stage is no longer a dream for you all, as this entire corpse is a treasure trove. Saying so, he took out a jade bottle and pierced the corpse's arm with this divine sword, following which a stream of golden blood poured out from the wound, and Tang Xiu collected all of it within the bottle and sensed the immense divine power that was within the god blood. He then used an esoteric art to seal the wound on the corpse's arm and gave the 6 people before him a drop of blood, each from the jade bottle. So, this is God's blood? It indeed contains powerful energy within it. Even if I bring out all the power within the body, it would still pale in comparison to the energy contained within this single drop of god blood, Siwei Monarch stated in excitement. Tang Xiu smiled and said, Stop with the nonsense now. Absorb the god blood and begin cultivating right away. I really wish to see how much assistance a single drop of god blood can provide you all. All right. The 6 men, including old Sycamore, showed no hesitation in following Tang Xiu's orders. They swallowed the god blood and sat down cross-legged at once. Tang Xiu gave these 6 men a profound look and also swallowed a drop of god blood a moment later. The moment this drop of god blood entered his throat, it transformed into an essence surging with divine force and flowed into this body. When this essence of divine force reached his stomach, it gushed out in all directions. It rushed to each nook and cranny of his body, a vast section of it flowing into the universe in his dantian. Tang Xiu could feel that his body was being nourished and tempered at a breakneck speed right now, and in just a short 10 breaths of time, his physique had strengthened by a large margin. The most important thing was that all his internal organs, meridians, bones, and even his blood had undergone a qualitative change. As a result, he had become much stronger than before. Time flitted by, and for a whole 3 years, Tang Xiu and the others had spent time inside the heavenly abode to cultivate. And within these 3 years, the cultivation of the 7 men had made immense progress. What a nice feeling. Tang Xiu revealed a satisfied expression on his handsome face as he floated up in the air and brandished his fist gently. Although he had absorbed over a dozen drops of god blood over these 3 years, he could feel that his strength had advanced by only several folds. However, he had the confidence to fight a late-stage perfected golden immortal right now and even had the means to kill an expert in such a stage. Master. Old Sycamore and the others floated up one after the other with immense auras flowing out from their bodies and bowed towards Tang Xiu. At the same time, Tang Xiu smiled and asked, "How did it go?" Old Sycamore smiled as he replied, "After absorbing 10 drops of god blood over the past 3 years, I'm just a step away from breaking past the early stage of the supremacy stage. If you give me another 10 drops of god blood, I'm confident in breaking through to the middle stage of the supremacy stage within 10 years. Tang Xiu nodded with satisfaction and said, "That's quite a notable achievement. What about you all? I'm a late-stage, perfected golden immortal now, and I just need one final push to be able to break through to the supremacy stage," Siwei Monarch answered in excitement. "It's the same for me. Me as well." Except for Eagle, all the others answered excitedly one after the other. Tang Xiu observed Eagle and felt a little puzzled because Eagle didn't show any fluctuations of a cultivator, and seemed to appear just like an ordinary human. "Master, I've already become a supreme." From the smile he was trying to hold back, it was pretty obvious that he was satisfied by his progress over the past 3 years. Tang Xiu revealed an astonished expression and asked, "Have you really broken through to the supremacy stage?" Eagle released his aura at once and nodded with a smile. "I have." Tang Xiu patted his shoulder energetically and sighed. "Our great Tang Empire has 4 supremes now that you two have broken through to the supremacy stage. It seems like this god blood is a really priceless treasure. If all the 100 perfected golden immortals of our great Tang Empire were to absorb the god blood, a lot of them might break through to the supremacy stage. That's a good thing indeed." Saying so, he handed another 20 drops of god blood to each of them and said deeply, "Obtaining the god's corpse is my fortune and also yours. Siwei Monarch, the 4 of you have to make an all-out effort to cultivate within the heavenly abode now. As long as the god blood is beneficial to you, I definitely won't act stingy with it. So, all of you must strive to break through to the supremacy stage within the next 10 years for me. Understood." Siwei Monarch and the others looked at Eagle with envy and nodded with solemn expressions on their faces. The god's corpse contained around 1,000,000 drops of god blood, so even Tang Xiu couldn't estimate how many supremes and perfected golden immortals the great Tang Empire would produce, if he were to make use of them all. "Eagle, you'll accompany me outside, and the others will remain here to cultivate." Tang Xiu used an esoteric art to fully seal the god's corpse and left the heavenly abode space along with Eagle. The 2 of them appeared in the outside world, and after surveying their surroundings, Tang Xiu suddenly chuckled. This visit to the Nepha's Abyss was indeed worth it. "Eagle, we shall head to the 9th layer's Nepha's city directly and leave Nepha's Abyss once I've acquired the thing I need. I'll help you consolidate your wife's immortal soul after that." "Thank you, Master." A glimmer of fervor flashed through Eagle's eyes as he thanked Tang Xiu respectfully. A magnificent, huge black castle existed in the 9th layer of Nepha's Abyss. This place was none other than Nepha's city. All kinds of beings existed within Nepha's city, and this place had neither laws nor regulations, so anyone could fight and kill inside the city. It was a place where strength reigned supreme, and the feeble lived under the protection of the strong. The city was chaos incarnate, and the only law at play here was the cruel law of survival. All newcomers were marked by the countless inhabitants of the city the moment they entered it and suffered from endless provocations. Die. Tang Xiu suffered an attack from 2 perfected golden immortal stage experts of the monster realm the moment he stepped foot across the gates of Nepha's city. However, he didn't dodge their attacks and simply took out his divine sword to deal with them. In just a few short breaths, he had killed one of the enemies and delivered a grievous injury to the other one, then watched along as that expert fled inside the city. Tang Xiu didn't chase after him and instead entered the city along with Eagle. He faced the endless malicious gazes with a cold smile on his face and roared. "Feel free to team up and attack us if all of you wish to die. I may as well begin a slaughter here today to make an example out of you. Come. Such arrogance. A three-eyed Azura suddenly appeared before Tang Xiu and Eagle. He was just a step away from breaking through to the supremacy stage and was publicly known as the third strongest expert in Nifa's city. Kill him. Tang Xiu narrowed his eyes and said deeply. Eagle's figure transformed into a beam of superimposed light rays and struck the three-eyed Azura in the next instant. This was because of the pike that Tang Xiu had given to him a while ago. Eagle's attacks turned fiercer with each strike that tore into the enemy's flesh and made him scream in pain miserably. Whoosh! An indistinct figure appeared before Eagle suddenly, and in the next moment, he blew Eagle away with a wave of his ghost banner and scoffed. A supreme? The person who had arrived was an old man with ghost tattoos on his face. He withdrew his ghost banner and gave Eagle a profound look before sighing. I never thought you would actually break through to the supremacy stage, and even more so didn't believe that you would become someone's subordinate after breaking through to the supremacy stage. Eagle, Arthur didn't know that you have already broken through to the supremacy stage, so it's his mistake for offending your master. However, I hope you can give me some face and spare his life. Eagle just smiled at him coldly and looked towards Tang Xiu. Tang Xiu revealed a smile on his face and asked, "How much is your face worth? And what would you do to me if I refused to give you face?" The old man shook his head and said, "Young man, don't think that you can do whatever you wish in Nifa's city just because Eagle has broken through to the supremacy stage. This old man has spent 20,000 years in Nifa's city, and just a single sentence from me would send endless experts coming after you." Tang Xiu smirked and said, "Who do you think you're trying to scare? Fine, I can spare that three-eyed Azura, Arthur's life, but he has to compensate me for causing mental anguish. I was frightened because of his sudden appearance and felt deep distress, so he must compensate me for that. It's not that much of an amount, he just needs to compensate me with 10 million demon crystals. Then, I'll write this matter off. However, if he's unwilling to do that, he will die even if he has you to protect him." The old man frowned and thundered. "Young man, don't cross the line too much. 10 million demon crystals is not a small amount, so it will be difficult for him to take out such a huge amount with his abilities. Are you planning to back out, then?" Tang Xiu asked. The old man just smiled coldly and didn't reply to Tang Xiu's question. Tang Xiu called old Sycamore out from the heavenly abode and grinned. "I'm really curious about how many Supremes exist in Nifa's city, and how many experts within the city would be willing to lay down their lives for you. If you wish to fight, I, the great Tang Heavenly Emperor, am willing to accompany you to the end." Saying so, he called Siwei Monarch and the other perfected golden immortals out from the heavenly abode as well. Then, the 7 of them directed their entire killing intent at the old man, an expert from the ghost realm. The old man's expression changed instantly. He never expected that the young man shrouded in an aura of mystery actually had 2 Supremes following him, and even had 4 late-stage, perfected golden immortals as subordinates. His killing intent dissipated into nothing in an instant as he waved his hand with a bitter smile on his face. "Fine. I'll admit that you all are pretty strong. I'll pay the 10 million demon crystals for Arthur." Tang Xiu smirked and said, "As they say, a wise man submits to circumstances. Since you have spent 20,000 years in this city, I assume you are a well-known expert? May I know how to call you?" "Blackface Ghost Emperor," the old man answered after handing over 10 million demon crystals to Tang Xiu. Tang Xiu was shocked. He had heard of this name countless times in the past and knew he was one of the top experts of the ghost realm, who was at least as strong as a middle-stage supreme. Tang Xiu cupped his fists and said, "So, it's the famous Blackface Ghost Emperor. I never thought our first meeting would occur in such a manner. I'm well aware of your strength, so pardon me for offending you before. I hope that you won't blame us for acting that way, Blackface Ghost Emperor. We have only come to Nifa's city on this occasion to procure some items, So we will be leaving this place the moment we have accomplished that. Chapter 1393, Looking Like a Dandy Silk Pants. The intentions Tang Shou wished to express were as clear as day. He had no plans to forcibly take over this region that was like a home to Blackface Ghost Emperor, who had spent the past 20,000 years here and would leave the place as soon as he was done procuring the items he needed. Blackface Ghost Emperor gave Tang Shou a profound look and laughed out loud suddenly. As a character whose reputation has seen a meteoric rise in the immortal world over the past 100 years, you're indeed worthy of me paying attention to you, Great Tang Heavenly Emperor. Guests from afar, I won't invite you to a banquet since I believe you have far more important things to do. Still, I shall pass down my order so that you can enjoy a 20% discount no matter what you buy in Nifa's city. If anyone refuses to comply, they can rest assured that they will have an empty spot ready for their soul in my ghost banner. Tang Shou's eyes lit up as he cupped his fist towards Blackface Ghost Emperor and said, "It's an honor for me, the Great Tang Heavenly Emperor, to be able to meet you, Blackface Ghost Emperor. If you were to ever come to the immortal world and plan to visit any region of my Great Tang Empire, I assure you that no one will hinder your path and that you will receive the best hospitality no matter where you go." Very well. Blackface Ghost Emperor smiled faintly and cupped his fists towards Tang Shou before disappearing in the next moment. The countless kinds of inhabitants of Nifa's city withdrew their malicious gazes one after the other. Their hearts were beating crazily at the moment as supremes were existences that even they looked up to, and the Great Tang Heavenly Emperor had two of them beside him. So, there was no doubt that they would be walking to their deaths if they were to covet the Great Tang Emperor's wealth. Tang Shou went on a spending spree over the next 6 months in Nifa's city. His total expenditure had long crossed 2 billion crystal essences, and he spent it all to procure a vast array of items that would allow him to cultivate to the summit of supremacy stage, without any hiccups. A lot of them were treasures that would invoke the avarice of other perfected golden immortals if he took out even one of them. In the city lord's residence. Blackface Ghost Emperor was seated in his residence with a black mist shrouding him, and a ghost jewel was suspended in the air before his eyebrows. It continuously extracted dense amounts of ghastly energies from a crack in the void behind him. Master. A ghost king shrouded in baleful energies floated over towards the Blackface Ghost Emperor. What is it? The black mist surrounding the Blackface Ghost Emperor dissipated by a lot, so his face could be vaguely seen now. That ghost king bowed towards him respectfully and said, "Master, the Great Tang Heavenly Emperor has purchased the legacy treasure of the Lightning Storm Demon Palace." Blackface Ghost Emperor revealed an amazed expression as he asked, "Heavenly Magic Mirror?" "Yes, the Heavenly Magic Mirror," the Ghost King replied. Blackface Ghost Emperor furrowed his brows slightly and said, "He has purchased the legacy treasures of 6 stores within these 6 months, so he should have spent a lot of his money, right?" The Ghost King smiled wryly and said, "This Great Tang Heavenly Emperor is the richest immortal I've seen till now. According to our estimate, he has spent over 2 billion crystal essences within these 6 months, and that's on top of the 20% discount that you've ordered." Blackface Ghost Emperor was left speechless, as even though he had a lot of wealth, it would perhaps just total to the amount that the Great Tang Heavenly Emperor had spent in this short duration of time. However, the reason he had such a vast wealth was that he had amassed it over the past 20,000 years, and it also included the tributes his subordinates provided to him. Hence, he couldn't understand where the Great Tang Heavenly Emperor got all of his wealth from, as he had only appeared in the immortal world pretty recently. Continue following their movements, but make sure that you don't alert them. There's no need for us to feel bothered even if he swipes all the treasures of Nifa's city clean, as long as he has enough money to pay for them. Also, send a messenger to the Ghost Palace and tell them to remove the legacy treasure of the store and claim that someone has brought it already." Blackface Ghost Emperor seemed to have realized something, so he immediately sent the following orders. "This subordinate shall do as you say at once." The Ghost King acknowledged. A glimmer flashed through the Blackface Ghost Emperor's eyes as he looked towards the direction his subordinate disappeared in. He had already contacted his old friends within the immortal world to inquire about the Great Tang Heavenly Emperor. However, from the information he received from them, it seemed like the Great Tang Heavenly Emperor was really too much of an enigma even in the immortal world. He seemed to have come from some minor world and had also brought along a vast number of cultivators along with him. However, no one had been able to figure out which minor world he had come from until now. The outside world believes that the Great Tang Empire only has two supremes protecting it, but no one has realized yet that Eagle has already broken through to the supremacy stage and actually also became the Great Tang Heavenly Emperor's subordinate. He obviously hasn't reached the supremacy stage yet, but he has 3 supremes under him. Just how did he accomplish this? Tang Xiu had revealed his ace card already by making a strong impression through killing anyone who dared to covet his wealth. However, in these 6 months, there were still some ignorant beings in Nifa's city who attempted to plunder his treasures, but all of them perished in soul and flesh in the end. 9 experts each from the monster realm, the demon realm, the spirit realm, and the Azura realm, a total of 36 men, were currently carrying a massive palanquin on a straight road right now. They proceeded towards the gates of Nifa's city under the watch of the countless inhabitants of the city. And although it portrayed a very pompous and pretentious picture, no one dared to offend the rider of the palanquin. I believe no one has dared to act so imperiously in Nifa's city over the past tens of thousands of years. Is this Great Tang Heavenly Emperor an idiot or what? Is he unaware that acting so snobbish would just provoke others and hasten his death? The Veilwolf Monster Emperor from the monster realm was also so unbridled in his actions 40,000 years ago, but Veilwolf Monster Emperor was a supreme who was just a step away from attaining godhood. This Great Tang Heavenly Emperor, on the other hand, is only able to act so haughtily because he has 2 supremes on his side. Acting so arrogant when his strength is lacking is pretty much equivalent to courting death. It does look pretty damn impressive though. I would be willing to get such treatment just once in my life even if I had to exchange 1,000 years of my lifespan for it. This Great Tang Heavenly Emperor is my idol from now on. He really looks very handsome. He's just acting recklessly. Such arrogance. The inhabitants of Nifa's city, as well as its visitors from all kinds of realms, stood inside the buildings on either side of the street and conversed privately through voice transmissions as they commented on the scene before them. Tang Xiu had a downcast expression on his face as he sat on the palanquin while fiddling with the heavenly magic mirror in his hands. The reflection of this mirror could see through disguises and had the ability to reveal the real appearance of any creature that had transformed into a human. I acted like a wolf in sheep's clothing during my last visit to Nifa's city and was able to obtain a massive amount of wealth, but I never thought I would have to act so ostentatiously this time and end up showing a bit of aggressive behavior. Sigh. I've also spent almost all the immortal crystals and crystal essences I had on me. As for the legacy treasure of the Ghost Palace, I have no use for it, so there's no point in obtaining it. I might as well give some face to the black-faced Ghost Emperor in that case and leave it alone. Tang Xiu sighed inwardly while he examined the real appearances of the various creatures in a somewhat meticulous manner. Although Nifa's city had a lot of immortals from the immortal world, they were all vicious criminals, so he really felt the itch to get rid of them. All of a sudden, Tang Xiu's expression changed. Although he wasn't paying any particular attention to the onlookers on the sides of the street, he had actually discovered an old acquaintance standing there through the reflection of the heavenly magic mirror. Zi Tong stood at the side of the street in a black robe with her beautiful face hidden under a black mask. Although she had a petite figure, she possessed a remarkable strength and had already reached the profound immortal stage by now. She had come to Nifa's abyss along with her ancestor this time to look for a spiritual item that could heal her immortal soul. Her fascination with painting and calligraphy had allowed her to comprehend the secrets of the heavenly laws 800 years ago, and given her access to their might. However, as her body was too weak, what should have been initially a joyous occasion turned into misfortune for her. Her physique couldn't bear the sudden increase of the power in her immortal soul, so she was forced to seal her soul and ended up suffering a wound as a result. Zitong found the handsome youth sitting lazily on the huge palanquin to be a little interesting, because she really couldn't comprehend how bored he must have felt to have actually done such a pretentious thing. "Ancestor, let's leave." Zitong regained her sight and pulled the arm of the white-haired old man beside her. The old man smiled faintly and prepared to hasten with their journey to look for a spiritual item that could heal an immortal soul. Whoosh! A powerful force coiled around Zitong's waist and pulled it along, prompting her to cry out in alarm immediately. Her body was dragged along by that invisible power, and in the next instant, she fell within Tang Xiu's embrace. "Oh, look. It's a girl. I wonder if you are beautiful, though." Tang Xiu's palm gently fell on Zitong's back and sent a solitary thread herb into her body, while his other hand reached out to unmask her. "You pervert." Zitong felt both angry and embarrassed once she realized that she was almost lying within Tang Xiu's embrace, and tried to struggle with all her might after chiding him in anger. Tang Xiu acted swiftly and caught Zitong's tender palm within an instant and sent a purple light inside her palm. He lifted his other arm and punched out with his other arm to face the white-haired old man, who had pounced towards him in a screaming rage and met his fist. "This is interesting." Tang Xiu's body trembled as his other hand pushed Zitong away. He then smiled at the white-haired old man who had fallen back and said, "Your Excellency is really too petty. I just hugged your great-granddaughter, that's all. Is there a need to stake it all out to battle me just for that? Let it be, I've lost all interest now because you're so stingy." Saying so, he assumed a languid appearance again and waved his left hand slowly while ordering casually, "Move. Exit the city now." Zitong's expression was filled with indignation at his behavior. She appeared beside the white-haired old man momentarily and pulled his arm in worry. "Ancestor, are you fine?" The white-haired old man had donned a look of fury and his eyes brimmed with murderous intent as he stared at the leaving palanquin, and the languidly seated Tang Xiu fixedly. If he hadn't heard that Tang Xiu had two supremes protecting him, he would have immediately killed such a pervert. "I'm fine," Zitong shook his head slowly. After noticing that a lot of the surrounding individuals were giving him looks, he grabbed Zitong's wrist and quickly departed from the place. Zitong finally felt a bit better once he had vented out all his resentment with a sigh, after stopping in one of the corners of Nifa's city and stated gloomily, "That damn great Tang Heavenly Emperor really has no limits to his arrogance. I would have flailed him to death if it weren't for the two supremes protecting him." "Little Tong, what's wrong?" Chapter 1394, People will die for wealth, just as birds for food. Zitong's acute senses had noticed that something seemed to be wrong with his great-granddaughter, whom he had pulled along. Zitong wore a blank expression, and her heart shook with disbelief right now. She seemed to have regained her senses after hearing her ancestor's question and answered with a stutter, "Ancestor, my body." Zitong's expression changed, and he immediately grabbed Zitong's wrist to check her pulse and observed the interior of her body with his spiritual sense. A short moment later, even he had donned an incredulous expression on his face. "A leaf of solitary thread herb?" Zitong answered in an unusual tone, "Ancestor, when that man placed his hand on my back, I never noticed that this leaf of solitary thread herb had entered my body. I can feel my injured immortal soul recovering rapidly right now." Zitong remained silent for a long time and then looked towards the direction they were in before and muttered, "So, he wasn't harassing you back then and actually gave this leaf of solitary thread herb to you because he had discovered that your immortal soul was injured? Also that your injured immortal soul can heal. Little Tong. Little Tong, why have you blanked out again?" Zitong raised her left hand and muttered, "Ancestor, my hand has." Zitong's expression changed as he grabbed Zitong's left hand momentarily, and a look of disbelief cropped up on his yet again after he had investigated it with his spiritual sense. "Origin essence of purple coral agates?" Zitong muttered. Zitong said, "Ancestor, I don't know what it is or how it appeared inside my left hand, but I do remember that man grabbed my left hand before." "Did he?" Zinsho's expression became even more complicated. He would be really too stupid if he hadn't realized that the great Tang Heavenly Emperor wasn't harassing his great-granddaughter, but instead bestowing her with treasures. "I don't get it," Zinsho said slowly with his brows furrowed deeply. "We aren't acquainted with that great Tang Heavenly Emperor and even learned about his name in the past few decades. So, why did he suddenly bestow you with 2 treasures that are the best supplements for you?" Zitong inquired. "Ancestor, I know that the solitary thread herb is an excellent supplement for healing a severely injured immortal soul, but what is that purple thing? I have neither seen nor heard anything about it before." Zinsho explained, "It's the essence contained within purple coral agates. Why else would it be called origin essence? Purple coral agates are excellent supplements for refining artifacts, and a great expert can extract the essence inside it to use it for a wide variety of applications, including concocting pills. And the thing inside your hand is the origin essence of purple coral agates. Now that you have it, it will influence your constitution imperceptibly in the future and strengthen your physique. Hence, your physique will keep progressing over time, and you will be able to pursue a higher stage of cultivation without putting a painstaking amount of effort into refining your body." Zitong asked in amazement, "Really?" "There's no doubt about it." Zinsho sighed. "That great Tang Heavenly Emperor is really extravagant, but his style of doing things is bizarre. He acted low profile and went by unheard in the beginning but amazed the entire realm with a single brilliant feat, and became an unparalleled genius of the immortal world. He then caused a great sensation in the immortal world by establishing the Great Tang Empire and become famous in the entire immortal world. Now, he has even made such a pompous and haughty show of display in Nifa's city, acting with no inhibitions. He seems to have 1,000 sides to him, and even I'm unsure which one is the real him." An unusual glimmer flashed through Zitong's eyes as she asked, "Ancestor, do you think the Empress would be able to figure him out?" Zinsho contemplated for a while and seemed to have realized something suddenly, so he answered her in a low voice. "The Empress and this great Tang Heavenly Emperor are actually a bit similar, as both of them appeared in the immortal world suddenly, and seem to possess a vast amount of wealth. They both have powerful forces of perfected golden immortals and have the protection of a supreme." Once Tang Xiao and Eagle reached the 6th layer of Nifa's abyss, they returned to the lost Nifa's forest and arrived at the Myriad Spirit Palace. After the 4 Wedra brothers had gathered over, Tang Xiao told them solemnly, "Withdraw your Myriad Spirit Palace and enter the heavenly abode I have on me. Also, there's an area within the heavenly abode that I have sealed, so take care not to enter inside forcibly." "Understood." The 4 brothers exited the Myriad Spirit Palace together with Tang Xiao, and once they had handed the 10,000 jars of Myriad Spirit Immortal Wine to him, they withdrew the Myriad Spirit Palace and entered the heavenly abode he carried on him. Whoosh! 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 A few figures rushed over from a distance one after the other, and their eyes flashed with a cold glimmer as they looked at Tang Xiao and Eagle. Since the Myriad Spirit Palace and the 4 Wedra brothers had disappeared together, there was only one possibility. They were planning to leave the lost Nifa's forest along with the man whose heavenly abode they had entered. Tang Xiao furrowed his brows slightly and revealed a bitter gaze as he ordered, "Eagle, prepare for a battle." Saying so, he brought Zenith Venerable, Seaway Monarch, Golden-Eyed Great Pang, and Nether Seawhale King, the 4 late-stage, perfected golden immortals, out from his heavenly abode. As the old adage went, people would die for wealth, just as birds for food. As the Wedra family had spent 10,000 years in the lost Nifa's forest and sold the Myriad Spirit Immortal Wine, over such a long duration of time, everyone knew that the Wedra family had a vast sum of wealth in their hands. The rule of lost Nifa's forest stipulated that none were allowed to fight inside the forest. However, the moment anyone left the forest, they would face the blatant onslaught of several experts who were aiming for their wealth. As expected, Tang Xiu's group discovered around 10 experts following them with malicious intentions before they had even left the Lost Nifa's forest. Eagle. Take us along and rush ahead. Tang Xiu ordered in a deep voice the moment they had stepped out of the Lost Nifa's forest. Understood. Eagle released his immortal force and surrounded Tang Xiu and the others in it, and then, he rushed towards the entrance of the 6th layer as fast as he could. As experts from all the realms appeared in groups of 3s and 4s to block him, Eagle's aura climbed up unceasingly, and he brandished his pike madly to repel all the enemies ahead of him. Barrier of Darkness. Web of the Celestial Monster. Azura Shield. After Eagle got blocked by over a dozen high-grade defensive demon, monster, and Azura artifacts stacked on top of the other, he decided to let go of Tang Xiu and the others. He then assumed a strategic stance to fend off the enemies that caused the nearly 100 experts to withdraw in succession. Kill them all, Tang Xiu called Old Sycamore and the Wedra brothers out from the heavenly abode to join them in battle. And then, the 11 of them charged forward ferociously and enacted a massacre. The land they passed by gradually got steeped in blood, and corpses of all kinds of beings filled the surroundings. After a full 2 days of killing and rushing in their journey, they had finally reached the 5th layer. However, the number of experts who wanted to obtain their wealth had far surpassed their imagination already. By the time they reached the entrance of the 5th layer, they had several hundred experts ahead and behind in pursuit of them. However, Tang Xiu's group had 2 supremes who had experienced endless battles and were decisive characters with enriched battle experience, and also had deathmatch fighters like Seaway Monarch and the rest who had come from the convict arena and could kill opponents on the same level as them with ease. Hence, although their speed was reduced because of the obstructions, they continued killing a bloody way out of the enemies. They slaughtered their way through the 4th, 3rd, and 2nd layers. By the time the 11 of them had reached the 1st layer, they had already killed dozens of perfected golden immortals and injured even more severely. Stop! Tang Xiu's killing intent soared as he stood inside the entrance of the 1st layer and revealed a fierce expression on his face, after wiping the watery blood off his face. Although all his companions had sustained injuries, none of them were fatal ones. They consumed purple scent pills to convalesce after stopping. Come attack us if you have the guts. Tang Xiu provoked the Supreme before him. This fully armored demon emperor was the only Supreme who had appeared until now. He even had a long horn on his hand and wielded a 9th-grade demon offensive artifact in his hand. Blood kept oozing out from the horrible wound he had suffered to his chest, but he acted like nothing had happened to him at all. Old Sycamore had seized the moment when Tang Xiu had influenced the demon emperor's mind with his rainbow phantasmagoria realm, to deliver this heavy blow to the demon emperor. Tang Xiu gave the demon emperor before him a provocative look and shouted gallantly, "The great Tang Empire only has brave spirits who die in battle and no cowards. All of us will either die fighting here or eliminate all of you shameless scoundrels today. Tell me, men, are you willing to accompany me in achieving this?" "We are willing," the other 10 men answered at the same time and revealed crazed expressions as their auras climbed up unceasingly. They were prepared to fight with their lives on the line in exchange for the enemy's lives at any moment. The nearly 100 enemies felt utterly shocked by this development. They never imagined that they would run into such decisive characters in their pursuit of the Wedra family's wealth. Although they were criminals, the immortals before them were equally vicious and merciless in their methods. People would die for wealth, just as birds for food. They understood the meaning of these words and were willing to do anything for wealth, as its lure tempted them to attack Tang Xiu's group so they could obtain a higher share of it. Senior brother, a lot of people wondered where the great Tang Heavenly Emperor had obtained the wealth of nearly 2 billion crystal essences that he spent in the 9th layer of Nifa's city. It's clear to me now that he might have obtained that wealth from the Wedra family. As they have already spent all their wealth, we won't be able to obtain that many gains even if we manage to come out victorious in our battle with them. Let's just withdraw. A monster general from the monster realm suddenly chimed in at this perilous moment. Although he hadn't spoken loudly, the dozens of experts from the demon, monster, and Azura realms, as well as the immortal world, were able to hear it clearly. As such, all of their gazes focused on the monster general that had spoken these words. "What are you looking at me for? I just spoke the truth. They have just returned from Nifa's city, and even Blackface Ghost Emperor is aware that they have spent an exorbitant amount of crystal essences in Nifa's city," that monster general stated in a deep voice. In the next moment, the experts who had pursued Tang Xiu's group all the way here consulted with each other and retreated in succession one after the other. They then stopped 500 kilometers away to watch how the situation unfolded. Even Tang Xiu hadn't anticipated that the situation would suddenly take such a strange turn. Chapter 1395, The Miserable State of the Pristine Immortal Confucianist Sect. The Demon Realm's Demon Emperor wasn't expecting the words of a monster general to cause nearly half of the pursuers to lose their will to battle and withdraw. He remained silent for a short moment while giving a murderous look to Tang Xiu and the others. Then, he snickered suddenly. The Great Tang Empire indeed deserves its reputation. It's even more incredible that you have been able to conquer 4 immortal domains after establishing the empire, Great Tang Heavenly Emperor. Since someone believes that neither side will have many gains from this, there's no need for us to battle to the death. You can leave now. Tang Xiu grinned as he asked, "May I know your excellency's name?" Morodan, the Demon Emperor, replied with a deep voice. Tang Xiu smirked and said, "I shall remember your name. Let's hope there doesn't come a day when we meet again, or else, I won't mind putting an end to you both in soul and flesh at that moment." Morodan smiled sinisterly. "I'll be looking forward to that day." A few moments later, the nearly 100 pursuers chasing Tang Xiu and the others returned to the depths of Nifa's abyss one after the other. Tang Xiu used a spell to rinse his body clean with water and smiled wryly. "I wasn't expecting the inhabitants of Nifa's abyss to chase us so frantically for wealth." Old Sycamore sighed. "People will die for wealth, just as birds for food. These aren't empty words. Some of the experts mingling in the Nifa's abyss reside here because they have offended a powerful enemy in their original world, so that they can hide from the enemy's pursuit. As for the others, they come here to obtain wealth. A lot of these experts are even willing to put their lives on the line to obtain this wealth." Tang Xiu grinned. "No matter what they came here for, we won in the end and were also able to kill to our heart's content this time. So, it was indeed worth it." Old Sycamore smiled faintly and nodded in silence. The gazes with which the others viewed him, however, were a bit different, because they could sense that even though Tang Xiu hadn't reached the summit of the perfected golden immortal stage, the strength he exhibited allowed him to contend with a late-stage, perfected golden immortal. And even more importantly, he had divine powers and mystic arts in his arsenal that could catch the enemy off guard. He had revealed an innumerable number of tricks during the battles in the past 15 days, and each one of them had broadened their horizons. "Let's return." Tang Xiu grinned and left the Nifa's abyss through the vortex. Tang Xiu and the others hastened on their journey back, and within a short half-year, they were just a dozen or so immortal domains away from the Immortal Lyceum. As long as they didn't run into any problems for the rest of their journey, it would only take them a few more months to return to the Great Tang Empire. Right now, Tang Xiu and the others were resting on a planet within the vast void and suddenly saw a dozen or so golden immortals pass by them. Their leader, a perfected golden immortal, was a tall and muscular man donned in golden armor. "Hurry up, you all. Move your legs faster for me. The earlier we reach the pristine immortal Confucianist sect, the more treasures we will be able to obtain," the muscular, golden-armored man stated impatiently. Tang Xiu raised his head to look at them, and after a short moment of silence, he ordered in a grim voice. "Stop them." Whoosh. Whoosh. Old Sycamore and Eagle rushed towards the immortals ahead of them momentarily and blocked their way. The golden-armored man's expression changed when he sensed the dreadful aura around Old Sycamore and Eagle, So he flew up immediately and said to them respectfully, Junior Vermilion Light Peak greets seniors. May I ask what command you have for us to have blocked our path, seniors? Tang Xiu and the others hurried over and arrived before Vermilion Light Peak. He swept his gaze across the men in the entire group and asked faintly, I heard that you were going to the pristine Immortal Confucianist sect to plunder their treasures just now. Although they are just a second or third-rate sect in the immortal world, they are not so weak to be bullied by you people, right? The golden-armored man answered respectfully, Senior, perhaps you aren't aware that the pristine Immortal Confucianist sect is already in a dire state as the Myriad Sword sect might break through their defenses at any moment now. A lot of treacherous sects from the immortal domains adjacent to the pristine river immortal domain have joined hands with the Myriad Sword sect after realizing that the pristine immortal Confucianist sect's doom is nigh near, and are now attacking the sect as well. Tang Xiu's expression changed as he asked in a deep voice, You're saying that the Myriad Sword sect has actually initiated a war between sects? The golden-armored man nodded. Indeed. Tang Xiu took a deep breath and asked, So, you're also planning to join the attack? Well, the golden-armored man smiled wryly. I had a grievance with an expert from the pristine immortal Confucianist sect in the past. They bullied me quite miserably with the support of the pristine immortal Confucianist sect behind them. Hence, I'm planning to use this chance to teach them a lesson along with my group. Tang Xiu ordered indifferently. Kill them all for me. Whoosh. Whoosh. Eagle and Seaway Monarch attacked at the same time and blew that golden-armored man away. As for the golden immortals behind him, all of them suffered an attack almost instantaneously, and within a short quarter hour, Eagle and Seaway Monarch had killed them all. There's really an explosive increase in strength after reaching the supremacy stage. Seaway Monarch sighed satisfactorily. Seaway Monarch had used a few more drops of god blood during the return trip and broke through to the supremacy stage successfully. Zenith Venerable and the others were filled with envy when this happened because they were able to contend with Seaway Monarch in a frontal battle previously. Now, though, they weren't his opponent even if all of them besieged him together. Tang Xiu took a deep breath and said in a deep voice, The pristine immortal Confucianist sect has some relationship to me. So I can't just watch with folded hands when they are in danger. The pristine river immortal domain is only one immortal domain away from here, so we should be able to reach the pristine immortal Confucianist sect's territory within 4 days if we hurry over there. Understood. His companions nodded in succession and revealed dense killing intent. As Seaway Monarch had broken through to the supremacy stage, their battle strength had experienced a qualitative increase. So even if they were walking into a sect war, they didn't have to be that afraid. They were already planning to unfold a massive massacre once they reached there. When Tang Xiu and the others reached the sect doors of the pristine immortal Confucianist sect in the pristine river immortal domain 4 days later, they saw that tens of thousands of immortals had already surrounded the pristine immortal Confucianist sect. These immortals had varying strengths, as much were just ordinary immortals. At the same time, there were also Earth Immortals and Celestial Immortals present, along with Golden Immortals and Perfected Golden Immortals. North Sword Bel Espion, a supreme of the Myriad Sword sect, and also the sect master, was standing above the pristine immortal Confucianist sect under the escort of a group of perfected Golden Immortals right now. He gazed at the remaining members of the pristine immortal Confucianist sect standing behind the grand formation and laughed out loud. I gave you a chance to live, but you didn't treasure that opportunity, so the only outcome that awaits your sect is destruction now. Here's a piece of advice from me to you all. Don't send your ordinary disciples out secretly because my Myriad Sword sect has already blocked all the routes leading out of your section. The 100 disciples that you sent out before have already departed into the afterlife, under the swords of my Myriad Sword sect's members. Supreme Pristine Spring, the Grand Elder of the pristine immortal Confucianist sect, and also their sole supreme, had been grievously injured already and was being guarded by the provisional sect master, Taoist Pristine Force, right now. He looked at North Sword Bel Espion, who stood on the other side of the Grand Formation, with hate. As less than half of the original several 10,000 core disciples of the pristine Immortal Confucianist sect remained alive now. North Sword Bell Espion, no matter how arrogant you act, you still cannot break through the sect's defensive protection array within a short amount of time. I feel that you should spend your strength on breaking the array instead of tooting your horn here. All of us will detonate our immortal souls the moment you break through the array, so that we can take the myriad sword sect down along with us, Supreme Pristine Spring said with a bitter smile after wiping the blood off his mouth. North Sword Bell Espion's expression changed slightly, and he scoffed in the next instant. We will exterminate your pristine Immortal Confucianist sect even if we have to suffer a considerable loss. In doing so, as we absolutely cannot let you scourges remain alive. Eliminating the pristine Immortal Confucianism sect is our myriad sword sect's objective. Therefore, you won't be able to mislead anyone with your words. Heed my orders, everyone. No matter whether you are members of the pristine Immortal Confucianist sect or not, you are friends of our myriad sword sect as long as you are willing to aid us in attacking them. All of you will be able to obtain a share of the pristine Immortal Confucianist sect's wealth once we eliminate these hypocrites. Attack. The tens of thousands of immortals surrounding the sect bombarded the pristine Immortal Confucianist sect's defensive protection array, with their most powerful attacks one after the other. The protection array that was already on the verge of destabilizing began to ripple unceasingly and seemed like it would break at any moment. At a distance away from the sect, Tang Xiu took a deep breath and transferred the god's corpse into his interspatial ring silently and then handed the heavenly abode to Zenith Venerable and said deeply, "Return to the great Tang Empire immediately and tell Apotheon Bella and Obsidium Immortal Father to rush over with all the perfected golden immortals. Make haste now." Understood. Zenith Venerable accepted the heavenly abode and disappeared into the far horizons momentarily. Time flitted by, and in a flash, 13 days had passed already. Tang Xiu and the others observed the circumstances of the myriad sword sect and the pristine Immortal Confucianist sect over the past 13 days while hiding far away. The sect's defensive protection array was really quite formidable, as even though it appeared like it would break down at any moment under the continuous attacks of tens of thousands of immortals, over the past dozen or so days, it had still managed to hold on. Boom. North Sword Bell Espion laughed madly and ordered as the pristine Immortal Confucianist sect's defensive protection array broke down. Heed my orders. I'm allowing everyone to slaughter all the members of the pristine Immortal Confucianist sect and pillage them as you wish. Feel free to use the vilest methods you possess to eliminate all the disciples of the pristine Immortal Confucianist sect. Supreme Pristine Spring smiled bitterly and soared to the skies in the next instant. He took out an immortal sword from within his body and killed all the 100 immortals charging towards him with a single wave of his sword. You will have to pay a huge price if you wish to exterminate my pristine Immortal Confucianist sect. Come, then. We will kill as many of you as possible and then take the rest of you down along with us. Supreme Pristine Spring bellowed in a rage. At a distant place, old Sycamore wore a cold look on his face as he asked Tang Xiu in a low voice, "Master, when will we begin acting?" Tang Xiu grinned. "Right now. Let's go." In a short quarter hour, Tang Xiu and the others had silently arrived behind the myriad sword sect and the other forces. Followed by a single order to attack from Tang Xiu, they began massacring the enemies crazily with a thunderous momentum.